Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly review. Yesterday's close was pretty crazy, and yesterday as a whole, we got a bunch of dark pool prints, probably a combination of OPEX and a reversal. Like I'll show a glimpse, and this is sorted by dollar value. You can see that there's a bunch of names, big names here, and I marked down a few, and I'll go through this, but just showing this as an idea. We have 150-ish rank 1 prints, meaning for a specific ticker the biggest dollar amount trade for the past 20 years or so. And usually we get like under 10 per day. And yesterday we got 150 just rank 1 trades. And uh, some huge amounts of money was spent yesterday. So I'll go through a couple of these just to showcase. I actually marked a lot, and again, this is just a glimpse of what happened yesterday. The ones I liked and thought were interesting, and of course the mega caps. So first of all, Apple. Uh, I marked the closing. It's on the closing price mostly, and we have 10.5 billion, which is the third ranked trade ever, and as a cluster, meaning a bunch of trades that are individual trades but happened around the same price or at the same price. Clumped up together, there was 19 billion trade on Apple at the close yesterday. And the cluster was the third in rank as well. So basically, we have the amount, the rank, and on the second line here, we have the cluster rank. Some won't have all of this. They will only have a cluster or a rank because it's not relevant. But 19 billion in Apple, basically. In Meta, we have 15.7 billion and a single trade of 11.1 billion at the close. Microsoft has 7.63 and 14 billion at the cluster. Google has two tickers, GOOGL and GOG. So combined, basically we have like what's this 5.8 and 11 billion as a cluster. Tesla has 7.8 billion in a single trade and 9.8 as a cluster. Broadcom has 10 and 16 and rank 1 both. Amazon has 6.9, 11.4. MicroStrategy rank 1 trades for both clusters and individual trade. Netflix, you kind of get the idea. There were some unusual ones with from a size perspective. The biggest one was Apple. So this is Apollo Global Management, which had a huge cluster. The biggest trade was like 6 billion, and the cluster itself was 12 billion. I am not familiar with this name. Let's actually it's like a what's it called, investment fund or something like that. But 12 billion and rank one obviously is super huge. Uh, we don't know if all of these are buys or sells. So dark pool, you don't know what they did, but depending on context, you can imagine. And I'll speak about it once we go through all of them. We have Workday as well with 6.9 billion in a single trade and 10.7 as a cluster, also pretty huge. And uh, Avi 1.1, 2.3, Adobe with 900 million and 1.6 billion, and we have another one lower. Amat 1.4 billion. Lab, I'll speak about it later when we actually go into the individual stock. AMD, we have almost 2 billion here, 1.9. APP 1.1 billion. Boeing, Bill, and I actually won't go through all of this. I mean, I'll go through some of them, but when we get to the point, and the point being, like for example, let's compare XOM with Apple, and I'll move XOM at the top. So, what are all these trades? Are they buys? Are they sells? Are they mixed? Well, let's take it one at a time. What if they're all buys? Well, if they're all buys, the market would have to go up like in the next 2 weeks, probably like 10%. Like if this is actually bullish intent and everything was a buy, then we're going through a blow off top of all blow off tops. Like in the next 2 weeks, we will do like 5 to 10% up, and that seems quite unlikely. Like looking at the profiles, we have huge resistance above. Again, I don't see us going above 615 in any capacity. Like now that we have lost the delta and the positioning from December, we should be weaker. So let's do monthly. So monthly is until January, and like we lost some positioning here from 615, and right now we have 610 as the maximum possible if we go up. And how high is that? 610 is the maximum, yeah, so 3%. So it seems extremely unlikely that we can get that all bullish scenario. Secondly, everything is a sell. Everything is a sell is more possible, more likely than everything is a buy, but still seems unlikely. And the reasoning for that is that some of these names are super dusted. And I'll take some as an example. Dark pool prints are supposedly smart money. Is smart money selling some after this huge drop and putting billions on the table here? Uh, is smart money again selling? What do we have here? AMD had almost 2 billion, or Co. Co also had like 1.7 billion cluster. Is smart money selling Co here? Is smart money selling AMD here? Like it doesn't sound like smart money if they're selling something in this scenario. So it's unlikely that they are selling something like some that the chart looks like this uh, with these oversold conditions at this point. Like it could be selling if at first we would have done this, like something like this. Like if we were at 110 or even at least 100. No, okay, it's 110. If we were at 110 or let's say into resistance here at 113, 14, I would understand. Like we had a bounce and now they are selling because they don't believe in a bounce, and that would be perfectly okay. The timing would okay. But given the way the chart looks, it's not likely that they are selling things that the chart looks like this. AMD somewhere. Like I don't think they're selling AMD here. So if they're not selling AMD and some because they're super oversold and they're not idiots, then the most likely scenario is that some are sells and some are buys. And it's pretty easy to figure out which are sells and which are buys depending on what the chart looks like. So again, comparison between Apple and some. I find it hard to believe that with this chart into resistance, uh, just losing a bunch of delta here and basically, okay, no, sorry, this one, this one. Hmm. So we just lost a bunch of delta that was keeping positioning high. So right now it seems unlikely to me that, or at most we should go a bit higher to 260 at most, and then revert back to 250. But that seems unlikely as well. So if smart money is buying Apple here in size and selling some here in size, they're fucking idiots. They're not smart, they're fucking idiots. Uh, the most likely scenario is that they are selling Apple and they are buying some, in my opinion. So everything I've seen points me towards this being more of a rotation trade than anything else, because we have a lot of industrials, we have a lot of staples, like not necessarily staples, but more like rotation from winning stuff to losing stuff. Like for example, Walmart. Walmart, they bought like 2.5 billion here, or they traded 2.5 billion, but Walmart and Costco look kind of toppy. They've been going up for a million years, while we have Co, which looks like this, or we have Peps, which also saw like 1.8 billion, something like this. I didn't mark it down, but Pepsi looks like this, and we have stuff like CLF, which had number 4 print 280 million, which is big for CLF. Like, I don't think this is a sell. This has to be a buy, or even Nui, which had the number one print 660 million and 900 million as a cluster, rank one trade. This seems impossible. It seems impossible that this is a sell. So if it's not a sell, someone bought the dip. But for the market to not go up 10% in the next couple of weeks, we need something to sell off, and that something that sells off is likely going to be the mega caps. Uh, at most, they go slightly higher, or don't go down at all, or go down like 2-3%, or just go sideways a bit here. Basically, some distribution. But for this to make sense and for the market to not tank, this needs to happen, meaning breadth needs to continue to improve, or at least not drop anymore, means broad-based market gains. But stuff like Apple, Nvidia, Google, Meta, we saw Tesla as well, which they look more like sells. Apple itself, because the candle was green, and a full body candle may go a bit higher, like I said, to 260. But after that, it should be topping out. Then Meta is already underperforming. Like, having a red candle on yesterday's day is a bad sign. Microsoft, sort of similar. It got rejected pretty strongly, even though the candle closed green. It looks not great. Google looks okay. Again, this one might actually go to 200 again before it turns. And Tesla looks topped out. The interesting things are Broadcom also looks like Microsoft, so basically should go lower, not higher before that. But again, I don't think these will drop significantly. More like something like this. So don't imagine a pure dump on the mega caps or on the names that have been winners. Just imagining a slow drop or a failure to go higher. Amazon looks okay, also might go up a bit before it goes down. The interesting things are MicroStrategy, which saw the biggest prints ever, and I can see this one trying to go higher. Like the market favorites right now, like Palantir and MicroStrategy, basically. Like, Palantir had the number two prints here, 12 billion and 7.5 in a single trade. Probably Palantir is the market darling, a bigger one than MicroStrategy. So this one might actually go to 100. Who the fuck knows? But wouldn't be surprised if it should be very hit or miss. Like, a single name goes crazy, not all of them go crazy, because we don't have the liquidity for a single name to go crazy, plus the market to be like this and nothing to drop. We would go too high too quickly, and it's impossible to go too high too quickly. Okay, some other interesting stuff. So the semi package, which was Amat, um, we saw something in Clock as well. Saw AMD, Clock. So the foundries look pretty okay. Might bounce here and go higher. Same with AMD, like I said. Okay, Adobe looked okay. Like, we had these earning dumps recently, and it looks to be bottoming here. There was the previous day, on Thursday, there was a 631 million, and yesterday we got 1.6 billion as a cluster on the close, with 900 as the single trade. It's also into support here. It bounced previously as well, so I think there's a good chance that Adobe goes higher from this level. We have a nice trend line here for the resistance which might be a potential top out later, like, for example, so 540-ish, something like this. Alab, I said I'll talk about this one. It got a number one trade, and huge compared to the previous ones. This is a distribution pattern in my opinion. Like in this sideways consolidation, we had what was initially a number one print, then it became number two, then it became number three, and so on. So basically this was one, then we got this one which was higher, then we got this one which was higher, and so on. So yesterday we got 713 million, the biggest one, almost the size of all of the previous ones combined, the previous number ones combined. The candle was green, so this can go higher a bit, but I doubt we make new highs here. So in my opinion, the fact that we get um, big print after big print after big print while the price is going sideways is a distribution pattern. And the fact that we saw the opportunity to make this big of a transaction at this level, this seems like a sell to me, and I think it's a matter of time before this rolls over in a significant way. Like I said, it might go a bit higher, might just do a retest here, but this eventually should break down in a more significant way. And when I mentioned this ticker, it was somewhere around here, and I said there's a pattern of which names that break down after the IPO eventually go higher and do crazy shit. And the comparison was Coin. Breakdown, it went higher, it did crazy shit. But with this crazy shit also comes this, or Reddit. Same kind of pattern, went below IPO, consolidated a bit, went higher. This one is due a big correction as well. Like remember what happened with Snapchat IPO? Like let's do Reddit. No, actually let's do it differently. Let me. And now we go to Reddit. My fucking god. Pins did the same. If we had Twitter, Twitter would look the fucking same. It's the social network kind of things never go that well. So expect Reddit to dump like there's no tomorrow at some point. Okay, you get the idea. Then APP, same kind of thing. It had an aimbot to print at 1 billion. So the Reddit, Alab, APP are the things that will dump horribly when the time comes. Next, we have Boeing, which I took some profits on around here. Uh, Now, again, given the context, Boeing has acted as a safe haven this past drop. When the safe haven ends, the thing that was the safe haven, no, the need for the safe haven ends, the thing that was a safe haven will drop. And given this rejection here, I think Boeing is due a pullback. It went up quite a lot here, so I would assume we go maybe to what I closed it, never mind, to a trend line or to not a trend line, to a moving average. But I would assume Boeing, if the market breadth remains good, Boeing does something like this, goes back to 160, something like this, yeah, probably 160, and then continues to go higher later on. But for now, because the need for the safe haven is gone and the market is re-broadening, I think Boeing will see a pullback. And the fact that the print came exactly here after this huge run up is kind of the hint to take a step back. Okay, then we have Bill, uh, number one print. This is why this is on the list. I don't really like it because we are into this resistance area here, and it looks rather weak. Kind of got rejected on Friday. Many things got rejected, but this one is at the top, so it looks relatively bad. Like even has this kind of head and shoulders look. So I would assume we at least do like 82. Maybe it bounces later, but I don't think so. There are two levels, one here and one here, which would be the targets. So I'm kind of bearish on this one, but you kind of have to wait and see what happens. Maybe it's a better idea than shorting blindly at this point, like buying puts or something, to just wait and for it to lose this, because if it loses this level, it kind of confirms the head and shoulders, and it should flush down. Like it has the potential to go down quickly. This is only this until the gap start is 11%. If it goes for the gap fill is 20%. So I think the safe play is to wait to see if this trade is a buy or sell, and price will do based on what this trade is. If it goes down, it was likely a sell, and you should expect this to go down either to 73ish or 66ish. Biogen, like 550 million, number three print. There was a bit more, but small. Like the cluster was 660 million. Again, I don't think this is a sell. This is very likely a buy. BMI. This one is more complicated. We are at this middle-ish resistance support area. We had 1.3 billion number three trade on Friday. This to me looks kind of bullish. But again, you have to let price tell you what it's going to do. And why I think it's bullish is because we are above the trend line and not trend line, the horizontal level here. And this looks like a breakout, back test, and we're going higher to 68. But if we were to lose this level, I think we go significantly lower, maybe go back below 50. It depends what the market does as well. But if we get a breakdown, if this doesn't cause a move up in price next week and a breakout here, if we get a breakout, we go here. If we get a breakdown, we go here. It's kind of a binary setup, but you should wait and see what it does and then follow it. CLF I mentioned already. CRM also pretty interesting. I'm not really decided what this one is. Again, we have a trend line going here. I think it's a wait and see what happens. It looks more bullish than bearish. Because the candle is green and it tried to break down but failed. So again, wait and see what it does. It may, I'm not that bullish on this one. This trend line here. It's okay. So I would guess it can go higher, but like not that high, like 10% is max upside, something like this. But again, wait and see. If we have continuation to the upside, we will likely go up and do a breakout here, maybe go to 580. Minimum would be like 370, like retest of this high here at 368, maybe 370. Okay, this one was on the list because of the size being, I never heard of this name, Computer Technology Corporation, and it's oil and gas basically, or no, minerals. So mining probably. But the size of this trade and being a number one trade is interesting. Uh, Looks very good from a RSI perspective. So this looks good for a breakout, and the size here implies bullishness. Everything else about the trade implies bullishness. If we break down, stay away, but yeah, I would assume this goes up. Cisco saw 2.7 billion. Looks weak to me. Like we had a breakdown. This seems more like profit taking on the move up, taking advantage of the move up. We have sort of like a head and shoulders. Like compare this to CRM. CRM tried to break down but failed, for now at least, like this, and bounced. But Cisco, we're kind of here. So for CRM, looks like we're kind of here, and we still have this leg up to do. kind of like this. Cisco already did it, but now it lost the trend line and it's looking kind of weak. So kind of like this. This looks more like a sell to me. Then Chevron together with SOM and a lot of the other energy names like Bon. Let's move this next to SOM. 2.4 billion into horizontal support. It's pretty good. Devon, 500 million, number 4 trade. Again, this was support many times in the past. It's the first time we're testing it when coming from above after this huge run up. So it's more likely that we will hold, like compare it to this. This structure looks very similar to what we're getting here. And even though uh, we might get a we might go lower after, like do something like this. Uh, because it's the first time we're testing this area, I think it's more likely that we get a bounce. Okay, here, CRM, Cisco, Dell. Dell honestly looks like a buy, 450 million, number 7. This looks more like AMD and other stuff, so because it was down, this looks like a bullish structure that and it will go up. Gap, interesting setup here, looks like a bull flag, number 1 trade, 150 million. Which is big for gap, not big in absolute terms, but for gap it looks pretty big. And a bull flag, it's a back test of support, let's say. See how we draw this. This is one. Failed to break out. Now it will try again. If it fails, it's gonna drop back here. So basically we have a test. It will probably attempt to break out here to do this. But if it fails again and then goes below the print, it should do this. Guild, 1.4 billion, number 3 trade, both individual and cluster. Like this looks quite bullish. I like the whole setup for RSI here. Like this rounding bottom on RSI. This also looks bullish. Candle stayed mostly green, only a little bit of rejection. So I would expect a Guild can make a breakout here. And we are at the horizontal. Let's say it was a back test and now we're going higher. The upside for this is quite a bit higher, like target would be 110-ish, something like this. With options, this is a lot, even though the stock price would not go that much higher in absolute terms. Co, nothing really to say. I don't think this is a sell, especially when combined with the PEP setup. Like they both got prints at the same time. Co may look a bit questionable. Maybe we can say that this is a bear flag, like we or bear pennant. But being into AVWAP and not going lower, tried to go below once, tried a second time, trying a third time, and every time he's trying, it's making higher lows. So I would assume this is more bullish than bearish. Moderna saw 1.1 billion, number 4 cluster, number 10 individual trade, looking quite decent, even though we got a bit of a rejection. But you see the scale of this divergence here, even though this is still a higher low, the slope on this trend line versus the slope that would be on this one, the slope is different. So you don't need to have one going up and one going down necessarily. Like you can have a divergence just on the slope alone. Nui, I talked about it with CLF. Uh, like I don't imagine this going lower at this time. They have to bounce. Nvidia, I forgot to put Nvidia at the top. Nvidia is a bit confusing. I don't know what it will do, but I'm assuming it will go up. it's been consolidating for a while. Like it's not like Apple having gone up like crazy for a while. It's not like Meta also did this and now it's pulling back. Microsoft had a run up and it's pulling back. Google, huge run up. Tesla, huge run up. The only one that hasn't had a huge run up, which actually went down, is Nvidia. And now it's time for Nvidia to go up. And it has this nice looking setup here. Like, oops, not this one, this one. If it's a name I would expect to go up from the mega caps, is Nvidia at this point. And it also lines up with the idea of the other semis getting some love with Clock and Amat and AMD and Qualcomm and so on. So this looks quite bullish here. I quite like it, this pennant. And I would assume we get something like Broadcom going down, Nvidia going up, some of the other mega caps going down. So Nvidia and semis should get some loves next week. SMCY, same thing. Like we had 830 million individual, 820, and 1.45 billion in the cluster. Also looking quite decent as a pennant here, falling wedge, whatever you want to call it. Something like this, or something like. So also looks okay. Then we have healthcare stuff. Um, this have been dumping due to the assassination thing. This is Tenet Healthcare. Had a number one print. USC, UNH, sorry. Had some prints previous in the week. Nothing special yesterday. We had CNC, which has been getting like accumulation prints all the way around here. So I would assume next week we will get the healthcare companies bouncing back and moving a bit higher again. And then we have Walmart, which I think are going to be Walmart and Costco, maybe. I didn't put the print for Costco, but they happened as well. Maybe Costco looks a bit better than Walmart, but I I don't think these will do well. Like at most more. Let's do something. Let's do something like this. So, like I said, I don't expect major breakdowns, but more a downside pressure. Maybe something like this until it eventually does something like a bull flag or a flag, then we have a breakdown. But for now, I don't expect breakdowns. I just expect underperformance and especially relative underperformance. Meaning if the market goes up, this should underperform the market significantly. So Walmart and Costco, I kind of see them doing something like this, same as with some of the mega caps. And finally, from the selection, but obviously not the last thing, number one print, 1 billion, 1.26 billion in cluster. It was after earnings, initial negative reaction for earnings. It got bought up, and I would assume we go up from here. Don't think this is a sell, so it's likely the beginning of a bull phase for Nike. Let's do something like this, like this. So this is a pennant. Once it breaks out, I think we go to retest like this 90 area uh, eventually. We have like a 2 week window for bullishness. Because we started early, I think this pushes it more towards the beginning of the week here. So I would say we have until the 31st, until year end. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trading days. In 6 trading days, we should see some spectacular stuff happening. Uh, yeah, interesting stuff. But just because not everything is on this list. It doesn't mean it's not bullish. Like I said, there were 4,500 trade prints yesterday. On an average day, they're like 1,500, so almost three times as many. Um, Actually, three times as many as in a regular day. There were 150 number one prints versus less than 10 in a regular day. Things were pretty crazy yesterday. And when we look at SPY, got a bit of a rejection exactly at a view up here. And like I explained in the previous video, the market likes to test the bull trend. Let me find an example. This. This was a reversal candle, just like we had today, but it was smaller, obviously. The next day, we went down, but it went higher. The next day, it opened higher, went down, it went higher. So the market will likely give entry opportunities here. It's not always gap up, gap up, gap up. Like even this one here, we did a reversal, then we opened a bit lower, and buyer showed up, and we went higher. But not everything is gap up, like we've been taught here. Like for example, here gap up, gap up, gap up, and so on. So for Monday, I would expect we get a bit of a pullback. Might not happen because I think there was a deal reached for not getting a shutdown, so might actually get gap up. But even if we gap up, it might do a back test here, and afterwards it finds buyers and goes higher. So don't we have opportunities to get back into the bullish move, even if we already had the move starting. I expect we will get backtest of at most 50% of this candle. I'll just do it by approximate. Like we are at 595. Let's just say 590. There's a potential that we get a backtest of 590. Oh, actually did in post market. But even with this, like it might happen again. So the entry opportunity will happen even if you go higher. It should not be a solid move up. It should be more like this. And given this scenario, most likely we will top out way before this. I expect the top out to happen something. I think the Santa rally is probably until Tuesday, potentially even earlier. But let's keep it at Tuesday. This is the timing for a top, not a reversal. What I expect to happen is that we top out and then go sideways for a bit. 615 is way too much. I don't think we hit it. Maybe something like this, like 610. And then we go sideways. We do a fake out eventually and we start the downtrend. So kind of this is the expectation. Maybe we get another retest of 590 and I think it should hold. One of the reasons why I think it should hold is because of positioning. Now that we have expiration on this week's delta, then 585 becomes super overextended. And as you can see, 590 is one of the biggest levels for puts, the biggest one for puts that we have. So I would expect this will act as support. Even if we gap up on Monday, like open 593.94, maybe we get another push down to 590 during the day. That gets bought up, and then we have 600 as a target. Um, yeah, it shouldn't be that easy to break down. Even on Q, we have 515 as a support, so I don't think it's going to be that easy to break down next week. Uh, and on the monthly, 610 as a target, like I said, maybe a small fake out towards the end of the rally. So because we started early, we've shifted everything forward. Basically, we shifted it here, and this one is here. This is the end of the Santa rally, meaning maybe a top out here, then go a bit sideways, and eventually have a breakdown and a real correction because we haven't done everything as it should have happened yet. Okay, that's it for this week. It's a bit of a long one, but hopefully it helps you guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.